Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of JD Talks NASCAR. And we are back fresh off of a weekend sweep for Christopher Bell at New Hampshire. If you followed my advice and went with C Bell to sweep the weekend, you're probably a happy camper right now. I know I am, as he made me look like a genius this week. He's the New Hampshire guy. I mean, he just dominates there. And you saw it. You saw it in person. I was very confident. Just like this week, I've been saying, I've had my winner pick for Nashville for almost a month now. I'm confident when we go to certain places that certain guys are going to win. And, I've done it 2 weeks in a row now. One not on the podcast because I didn't have one out of Sonoma, but I've had Blaney at Iowa and Seabell sweeping the weekend, so I'm on a heater right now. Hopefully that heater continues this week. But Seabell's the man, especially at New Hampshire. Uh, did make me nervous when the rain came and he was in ninth. I thought they were going to call it, but then they go back racing and he shows that he has the best car and wins the thing. But getting into it, he did win stage one. Um, Shortly after the stage one ending, Daniel Hemrick spins, and then after as soon as Hemrick, this all happened in like the same, honestly, like within minutes of each other. Hemrick spins, they get a caution, and then the camera shows Alex Bowman perhaps overheating. I'm guessing that's what it was. It was some type of engine issue. He had smoke coming out of both sets of pipes, and just a killer day for the 48. They were running decent when the engine issues happened. Ended his day. He went on to finish last. I think the engine expired. I think's what happened. I think he just overheated and cooked the engine. Um, After the Bowman overheating, we've got Kyle Busch and Noah Gragson into each other. What a terrible day for Kyle Busch. I mean, Gragson didn't have the best day either, but my gosh, you got to think at some point that the 8 team is due for a somewhat decent day. Um, they have, I mean, this has been, I saw a stat earlier this week that these last 4 races have been the worst statistically for Kyle Busch of his career in back to back to back weeks. So, does it change this week at Nashville? I think it could. He ran decent at Dover. Dover, another concrete track, just like Nashville is. So I could see Kyle coming out and running decent. There's something's going on with RCR in general. I'm not sure what it is. If you follow the ins and outs of behind the scenes of NASCAR, Andy Petrie resigned from his position at RCR this week. Got to think that potentially had something to do with the performance. Just because he left, are they going to get better? I don't know. Might be a bigger issue. But RCR, they just haven't shown speed at all really this year. And Kyle Busch is a driver where I feel like if the car has speed, he would find it, to be honest with you. Well, for example, just look at his teammate, Austin Dillon. Compare their results, just on pure speed. I mean, Kyle's way ahead. So I'm not sure what's going on in the RCR camp, but hopefully they can get it figured out so both of those guys can start running better. I think Kyle Busch will run better this week. I really do. I'm basing off of kind of like he's really good at Bristol. He's good at Dover, and that's kind of like the in between of Nashville for me. That's kind of where I'm relating my predictions and stuff to are those 2 tracks because Dover concrete and Bristol as well. So we'll see. I think Kyle Busch will run better. It's going to be hard to run worse than he has these last couple weeks. So I think he'll be on the comeback trail, ready to try to make a push to make the playoffs these last couple weeks. Denny Hamlin went stage 2. It looked like his car started really coming in about the end of the first stage, beginning of the second. I thought he could give Seabell a run for his money. I thought Seabell and Truex were the 2 best cars throughout the weekend. But then Martin Truex Jr. will we'll talk about what caused him a chance to win. But Denny showed some flashes and got a playoff point, which is always good. And we'll definitely take that from this weekend. And then after that, we talk about the Martin Truex Jr. disastrous pit stop. He pitted either from the lead or from second, and just a disaster. Didn't get the right rear tight, I think is what it was. They dropped the car too fast and ended up having to go back over to the right side and get the lug nut tight on the tire. Costed him several positions. I mean, it was a lot. It was a very long stop. Watched it on TV. You could tell how long of a stop it was, and it definitely took him out of contention. Got to be frustrating for Martin. With the announcement that he's retiring at the end of the year. New Hampshire, normally a great track for him, and he was running up front before the issues of the pit crew. Then Logano and Chase Elliott spin. This was a weird one. Just looked like the 22 got up into the 9 and took them both out. It actually ended up damaging Logano a lot worse than it did Chase. It ended Logano's day, basically. I mean, he putted around like several laps down for the rest of the day, I think, but bad damage to the left front of the 22. And Chase had a little damage, but I don't think it was anything that impacted him too bad. I mean, he was able to continue. I think it was on a restart as well. Just unfortunate circumstances for those guys. I don't really know what Logano was trying to do there. I guess he was trying to make a move to the inside and just got in too deep and ended up wiping both of them out. Then we have a huge stack up towards the back of the field. Ryan Preece and Corey LaJoie get into each other, ends up spinning the 7. There was a lot of cautions off of restarts, and I really love New Hampshire. I love watching races here. I love, like I think I said last week, I love racing it on iRacing. The restarts are crazy though. And that's another reason why it's a good track in my opinion. Especially we'll talk about the rain tires and that whole thing, but just regularly on normal conditions, you can still fan out. The cars go 3-4 wide, and a lot of passing and a lot of people trying to make moves, which led to a lot of cautions. So I know if you like the restarts as much as I do, you saw a lot of them on Sunday at New Hampshire for sure. Off another restart, Keselowski into Martin Truex Jr. made Martin Truex Jr.'s bad day turn worse. And the 6, man, RFK in general was off. It seemed like this week at New Hampshire. Definitely the 6 was. Busher was never really a factor either, but the 6 was way off. I mean, I don't think he ran top 20. To be honest with you, I didn't pay that much attention to where he was running, but I just know that every time they showed him on the broadcast, it felt like he was in the back or towards the back, which is shocking. I thought RFK had found a lot of speed, but obviously something wasn't right there at New Hampshire. And then we get into the weather delay. It was delayed for 2 hours and 20 something minutes. I might as well say 2.5 hours. A lot of people wanted NASCAR to call it. I saw online. I was of the camp to go back racing, of course, won my prediction. I just thought I hate rain shortened races anyway. So I'm all for, hey, let's get racing in. Unless Denny's in the lead, then I'm all for, I think we should just call it. But in this case on Sunday, I was all for going back racing. I think NASCAR made the right decision to wait, and then they made the right decision to put the wet tires on. I know that, a lot of people were mad at NASCAR for waiting so long to put the tires on, but ultimately, I think they made the right decision in waiting the 2.5 hours and then going racing. Um, People will say, well, what are the wet weather tires for? I think they're more of a damp weather tire, if that makes sense. I think there's a difference between damp and wet. Um, as far as track goes. And I think they made the right decision. I think waiting and then racing like they did was a good decision. It put on a heck of a show for the fans and that were there and watching at home. So the first restart on wet tires was crazy to watch. I mean, you see these highlight videos and they're 5 wide back through the field. Christopher Bell, honestly, where he won the race was on restarts. He was started on at ninth after the weather delay, and he made the high side work on the new tires. Drove to the lead very quickly. It was him and Larson battling, and Seabell cleared him with pretty much ease. I mean, it was a great job by him. And he definitely on the wet weather tires, he was the most dominant car in the field. I thought he had the best car on regular tires as well. And then we seen some people. Denny is one where his car was good in the dry, but he could not drive it in the wet. He fell from third to 18th in like a matter of a couple laps. Then you had some guys that really cashed in on the wet tires. Seabell, Josh Berry, Chase Briscoe. The SHR cars really came to life on the wet weather tires. They all ran very well. Um, it was just a mix. Like some people's cars drove a lot better on the wet tires. I thought it was a really interesting dynamic to see how far some people were coming up in the field, how far some people were dropping back. So obviously the wet weather. I'm no crew chief. I'm a fan. I'm strictly a fan, but it's really seemed like that the wet weather tire, you definitely had to have a different setup to work. Then you know what I'm saying? Like, um, I, it seemed like Denny's car was almost undrivable in the wet tires. Like he was so he couldn't drive it; it wouldn't turn. And then Briscoe, Gregson, Barry, Priest, even their cars looked really good. Seabell's car looked really good. So it was just a differing of strategy and different elements that played into the winner of the race, and it was exciting to watch as a fan. I'm all for the wet weather tires. I think it put on a much better race too. Not that New Hampshire was bad before they put the wets on, but I thought that the wet weather tire definitely put on a better race, and we saw that at North Wilkesboro. I think it was last year that the wet weather tire did a very good job of putting on a better race than on the dry. We talked about Kyle Busch's bad day. It definitely turned from bad to worse as um, he ends up wrecking and ending his day during caution. I don't know if he was trying to test the grip in the tires or what happened. They showed the replay on the broadcast. It looked like he possibly hit one of the paint strips there and got loose and couldn't catch the car, and he ended up clobbering the wall and ending his day. So, hate to see that for the driver of the 8 for sure. But it was just a wild circumstance. I guess he just completely lost grip. I think it was into turn 1. Just looked like he just lost it. So, once again, crazy to see RCR struggle. I mean, they haven't been top notch in years, but man, they're struggling bad. And this was just another example of that. Ross Chastain spins later on. On the broadcast, they really couldn't figure out if he had help. There's been video released. Justin Haley did get into him, but it was because Ross was already loose in front of him. There wasn't really anywhere for Justin Haley to go. On the bottom of the apron there, Ross was really slow. I think he was just loose on the bottom, and Haley got up into him, spun him. But I wouldn't say anything egregious there. Corey LaJoie spins again. He had a rough day, and then we have a pretty big wreck, like a pretty big impact for Bubba Wallace. Noah Gragson loses it on the bottom. Once again, he got on in the paint on the bottom of the racetrack, and that paint must have been slick as ice for everybody. I just talked about Kyle Busch busting his tail, and Gragson gets on in it, and it completely spins his car up the track. He collects Bubba, Austin Dillon, and John Hunter Nemechek. Bubba Wallace took the biggest hit. It was head on into the fence, and he went on to be all right. But hated to see that for Noah and Bubba. I like both of those guys. Noah has once again continues to do an amazing job in that 10 car. and I hated to see his day in. Like, I mean, I think the only car out of the race after that was Bubba. I think Noah went on to finish the race, but he just wasn't competitive after that, if I remember correctly. And then we have another restart and another wreck. This time, Michael McDowell and Ryan Blaney restarting on the front row. Well, yeah, he was on the front row. It was Seabell and McDowell on the front row. Blaney restarted it on the top in the second row, and Seabell luckily cleared McDowell because if he didn't, it would have been Seabell and McDowell spinning. But Seabell clears McDowell, and McDowell makes a super aggressive move. And I get you got to win to get in the playoffs. I do understand that, but this move wasn't even for the win. I mean, it wasn't even for the lead. And he flat out drove it in way too hard and ruins Blaney's day for sure. Blaney had a good day going again after his win at Iowa, and McDowell just overdrove it. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Overdrove into the 12. You could tell Blaney was frustrated, rightfully so, at the end of the race when they interviewed him. Just a low percentage move, I think, was the quote he used. I'll say a 0% chance move. I mean, there's no way that was that just sending it in there 120% is going to help anybody. I mean, even if you don't collect Blaney, you're going to lose spots from overdriving the corner. So I don't know if he was thinking he would. I'm guessing he was thinking that he would drive it in there, lean on Blaney a little bit, slow Blaney down, and then pass him. But I think that was just a way too aggressive move to be, not even for the win. So don't really understand that from the 34, but led to a caution. And then Brad Keselowski spins with 2 to go, so we regroup and reset, and Seabell pulls away on the final restart with ease and sweeps the weekend at New Hampshire. It took a late race restart for him to win the Xfinity race as well, and he did that, and here we are. So back-to-back weeks, correctly picked winners. And listen, I'm going to work on making it 3 in a row. This week at Nashville, we've got 3 races. We've got Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup all. So it's a full weekend of racing for sure. Before we move on to Nashville, I want to recap the notable finishers at New Hampshire. Of course, we've got Seabell winning, Chase Briscoe second, Josh Berry third. Like I said, those SHR cars really came to life with the wet weather tires. They had a great run. I want to touch on saying RFK was off. Chris Buescher somehow, I guess the wet weather maybe helped his car, but he ran 5th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. back-to-back top 10s. He ran 7th. John Hunter Nemechek 8th. Ryan Preece 11th. Todd Gilliland 12th. Harrison Burton 14th. That's a good run for him for sure. And Carson Hocevar 17th. Bad finishes. I'll start out with Denny 24th after restarting 3rd on the wet weather tires. Like I said, his car just became undrivable. So disappointing day for the 11. 25th, Blaney, after the wreck with McDowell. Hated to see that for him. He had a good car all day long. William Byron, 26th. I'm not sure what's happened to the 24. It seems like they've been off. I know they finished second at Iowa, but seems like they just haven't had the raw speed that we've, at least myself, has been accustomed to seeing them have. Early this year, I thought it was Byron, Larson, and Hamlin's championship to lose. It feels like the 24's kind of lost that, and the 11 hasn't ran well at all either. Had the blown engine at Sonoma, gets collected in Larson and Suarez's wreck at Iowa, and the wet weather tires just screwed him up this week. So, got to thank Larson and Elliott are now the 2 guys that can go out there and battle for a championship. Brad Keselowski, who I touched on, 28th. Just a really disappointing run for that team. Joey Logano, 32nd, due to the wreck with Chase Elliott. Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman take up 34th, 35th, and 36th, all due to issues. 2 of them accident, and Alex Bowman with his blown engine. Now we move to Nashville, another track that I enjoy. I have been the last 2 years, not going this year. I have to work this weekend, but you know, I expect good, solid racing in all series. I think all three series put on good races here. I'd say the best one's probably the Xfinity, but I enjoy watching all three series here. The truck race is actually tonight at 8 o'clock. I'm recording this on Friday once again because I've been busy this week. It's actually on FS2, so I know some of you might not get to watch it, and I hate that. I hate that it's on FS2. To be honest with you, it doesn't really make much sense to me. They're about to start practice for the truck series as I'm recording. Um, but you don't have to be a genius or a rocket scientist to know that this season has basically been dominated by Corey Heim and Christian Eckes. It feels like I'm picking one of them every week. I know that's boring to some people. Do want to shout out Clint Boyer for he's running in the 7 Spire truck tonight, so we'll see how much speed he has. Could he go win? Absolutely. I think he definitely could. He's got a fast truck. Boyer's a really good driver. But I'm going Corey Heim. I think the 11 team gets it done and gets another win for the Tricon Garage team. I just think Corey is a talent that I think this is definitely going to be his last year in the truck series. It would not surprise me if he jumped straight to Cup. He's running well in his Xfinity starts. He's done a great job, and he continues to will the cars and trucks as good as he can. So he's definitely up and coming prospect that I'm really looking forward to seeing how far he goes, and we'll see if he goes to Xfinity or Cup. I just feel like if 2311 were to buy a charter, he could possibly end up there next year in the Cup Series. He's racing for 2311 this week in the Cup Series and the number 50. So we'll see how he does at Nashville. And shout out to Corey for being such a good driver. I know there was talk of him at the beginning of the year, like being the next up and coming thing, but he has went out and proved that he really is that for sure. So we'll see how he does tonight. I'm picking Corey Heim to win at Nashville in the Truck Series. And then we have the Nashville Xfinity race. A very stacked field. Some Cup regulars are in this. I think it'll be a good race. AJ Allmendinger dominated this track in the race last year in Xfinity. He could definitely do it again. Colleague is saying they're going through a reset this week and they want to run well here. So I would put AJ Allmendinger as a guy to definitely watch out for. But I'm going another Toyota. I'm going Ty Gibbs, a Cup regular in the 19 car this week. So give me Ty Gibbs to win at Nashville. I just think Colleague hasn't shown the speed that they need to. Could they show up and do it here? Yes, absolutely. I just said they dominated last year. They could definitely turn it around and dominate the Xfinity race this year, but I just think the Joe Gibbs cars are going to be too good. Ty Gibbs, John Hunter Nemechek. I would even look out for Sheldon Creed to possibly get his first win. He was in a good position last week at New Hampshire, brought it home second again. And then you've also got to look at Tyler Reddick for Sam Hunt Racing. Reddick is very good here, especially he's won 2 Xfinity championships. He could absolutely get it done for Sam Hunt. I think this is the first time I look at an entry list and say, a Sam Hunt racing car could go to victory lane. The 26 is what Tyler Reddick is in this week. So we'll see if that happens. But ultimately, I'm going Ty Gibbs. Now, Cup race that you're probably going to think I'm full of BS, but I promise. I have picked, I had in my mind a month ago who I was going to pick to win this race, and it's going to surprise nobody. But I'll tell you why. I picked this guy because he won at Bristol. He won at Dover. He's won the last 3 concrete races. Pretty sure that's correct. Yes, it is because he won at Bristol last year when I was there. Denny Hamlin's going to win at Nashville, folks. Um, he's he's been good here the last two times they've been in this next gen car. He's led several laps. I've been there to watch it. Arguably should have won both races. Um, I, I think he gets it done. I think this is a bounce back week. It's been a dreadful 3 weeks as an 11 fan. But I think that he gets it done. I think he goes back to victory lane and gets his fourth win of the year and puts himself in really good shape to get to Phoenix with all those playoff points. So we'll see what happens. But that's my prediction. I'm on a heater right now. I'm hoping it continues. I will say Kyle Larson is the betting favorite at Nashville this week. Do not be surprised if it's another Larson Hamlin battle. I kind of feel that coming. They battled at Dover, not really at Bristol much, but Dover was a battle to the very end. And I honestly think that this could be the same. Larson won here the first year we came to Nashville. Larson won. Denny hasn't won here yet, but I think that changes this week. So let me know what you all thought about the race at New Hampshire. You could arguably say you could grade the first half of the race and then the separate two different grades. I would lean first half of the race on dry tires a 6, and I would rate the wet weather a 8 or a 9. I thought it was really, really good. Just the way that different lines developed on the track. Drivers could use the apron. They could go up next to the wall. They could use the middle of the track. I thought it was really good, and I think Nashville will also be good. I know if you are going to Nashville this week, stay hydrated, stay cool. That's the hardest challenge that we all had when we went. My son was a trooper both times we went. He got to meet Noah Gragson last year, but the first year we went, he got to see his favorite driver, Chase Elliott, win. But it's going to be hot. It's going to be really hot on Saturday, and Sunday. So stay warm. No, do not stay warm. Stay cool. Stay hydrated, and let me know what you think of Nashville if you go. I love the track. It's one of those tracks where you can see everything at all times. It's like 1.33 miles, I think, and it's a very solid track. Multiple lanes develop as the race goes on, especially with it being daytime and the heat. I think that you'll get a high lane and a low lane develop. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited. I love, like I said, I love the track, and I think Denny Hamlin ends up in victory lane. So back-to-back weeks with the fantasy win. I want to touch on that before I get out of here. I know we've got some people that listen in my fantasy group. I'm looking to make it 3 in a row. I was confident in taking Seabell, and I'm confident in taking Denny this week. I think I deserve some good runs after the start to the year I had. Denny, don't be surprised when Denny ends up in victory lane. Also, I will touch on before we get out of here, I think the 2311 cars are going to be good. I think Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. I'm basically loading all in on Toyota this week. It could make me look like a complete idiot, but I just think Toyota and the trucks, Xfinity and Cup, I think it'll be a Toyota sweep this week. So we'll see. But hopefully, I'm really hoping I can get in earlier next week to record. I know you all do not like waiting this long, but hopefully, as you're getting ready to watch the truck race tonight and Xfinity tomorrow and Cup on Sunday, you can listen and enjoy this. Thank you all so much for listening. I do have the best audience. You all continue to listen no matter whether it's right after the race or on the Thursday or Friday after you all are listening. So thank you all so much. You all are the best. This has been JD Talks NASCAR. You can find us on anywhere you get your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube. I don't think I'm forgetting any, but anywhere you get your podcast, you can get JD Talks NASCAR. Thank you all so much for your support, and I will see you all again next week when we recap Nashville and look forward to one of my favorite races, the Chicago Street Course. Thank you all.